What up, guys? Welcome to the Chewjitsu podcast, episode number 385. Getting a bunch of them. Today's podcast, we're going to talk about an idea. It's a rule for my jiu-jitsu. You don't have to be yours, but it's one of the ones I follow. About sort of the golden rule of competition. And you'll see why I call it that in a minute. But it's something that I kind of go by, and because I went from being a sort of a dirty, cheap little white belt who was trying to skirt the rules to get the win to now I will purposely go the opposite direction. And I have a few experiences that I'll tell you as to why. And hopefully this is useful to you. And whether you compete or not, it's something to just consider. About having sort of a philosophy and sets of rules to guide you. I think it's useful. You know, we look in a world where a lot of times, at least for me, I look around and I see people who are not based in principles. Meaning, you know, you see this all the time. Here's a quick example. Look at politics, right? So you will see someone do something, and most people have been curtailed to believe that, you know, everything is sort of one side or the other, and they will forego their normal behavior and principles that they say are wrong as long as it benefits their side of it. It's almost like saying that you're against referees making bad calls, but then you're watching their basketball game and your team it benefits from the bad call, and you turn a blind eye. You don't care. That's fine. We're getting the benefit of it, so who cares? You see that a lot of times with people. I'll explain kind of how that works in jiu-jitsu as well. But I think it's useful to have those sort of guidelines for yourself. You don't have to have a ton of them, but some of them are important. And it can also be useful to your training, even if you don't compete. So we'll talk about it in a second. Big thanks to our sponsors for helping make this podcast happen. Charlotte's Web CBD. Again, if you haven't checked them out, they're one of the OGs in the CBD space. They've been around for a long time. They originally created their product for a family that was, you know, dealing with a young girl who was having some illnesses that were assisted with using CBD oil. And from there, they built their business back through that. And the sort of their overarching mantra is it good enough for Charlotte? Meaning, would we give it to this young girl who was experiencing these different disorders? Is it good enough for her? And you know, they go through a lot of extra steps to ensure the purity of the products, to ensure the quality of the products in a market that's unregulated by the FDA. You know, now the FDA, they have some problems, right? Of course, but nonetheless, you know, they aren't regulated, and they still go the extra mile to make sure that the products are top notch. They have a lot of cool stuff, everything from your traditional CBD oils to balms and rubs, and then they have some CBN products, which are great if you want to try them out for sleeping and see what kind of effect you have. For me, I always encourage people, try it out for a month, whatever product you find, try it out for a month, see how it works for you, and then kind of go from there and see the effect it has on you. If you guys want to check them out, go to their website at charlottesweb.com. The promo code is Chewjitsu30 for 30% off the order. Also, if you guys are looking to get some new jiu-jitsu gear, I would tell you to check out Epic Roll at epicrollbjj.com. They have a lot of cool stuff. Great designs, great quality stuff. I've been a fan of theirs for a number of years now. I get my rash guards made through them. I like the fit of them. I like the quality of it. And they have great customer service to people. Now, if you get on their website, if you look through there, you find something you want to wear, something you want to try out, just use the promo code Chewjitsu20 for 20% off the order on whatever you find on the website. Also, if you guys want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by rolling over to our Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. You guys know how it works, right? You guys get some perks for becoming a Patreon member, for supporting the podcast. We recently just uploaded some different videos and some different content on it. One of the pieces that is getting uploaded is a video of me rolling at a gym with some lower belts, some purple belts, right? So again, I'm a black belt, so they're lower than me, but good people. But I walk you through a narrated video and I show you how to get the most from your rolling when you're rolling with people. One of my strategies for getting better. And this is important. Even if you're like a white belt who is better than some of the other white belts in the gym, you now have this really useful buffer between you and some of the other people, and you can do with that what you want. You can use it for ego boosting and just kind of beat the crap out of people, which is fine if you want to do that, I guess. But you can also use it to get much better at things faster. And this is one of the quote secrets that a lot of the higher belts do. Some of the best competitors out there do is they're incredibly focused with their training. And when they roll with less experienced people, they're not just using them as like a lamb to the slaughter as they just beat them up just for, you know, a boost of the ego. They're purposely rolling with them. And this is one of the things that separates people that, you know, kind of plateau versus the people that continue to get good. Some people, they get kind of decent and then they just hit that wall and they stop getting better. And a lot of times, if you talk to them, it's because they're doing the same old stuff over and over again. They're never expanding their game. You talk to the people that are always getting better, they're always focused on something new or something slightly different or expanding the positions that they're already good at because they're focused. And so it's a really useful video. It's narrated, it's like 9 minutes long. It'll show me rolling. And I have a couple strategies that I'm implementing in that roll that you can watch and I'll break down for you. And that's available at our Patreon along with all the other content that you guys get as a bonus, plus the other perks. If you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/the Chewjitsu podcast to check it out. Also, guys, speaking of focus, if you want to get a free guide, both a ebook and a video that comes along with it, that goes in through 12 plus different strategies about how to increase the focus of your rolling, which will in turn make you better faster in jiu-jitsu. It's what we all want, right? Then I give you 12 different strategies that you can implement. These can be done from the moment you're a white belt who's just trying to survive to being a high-level black belt that competes in black belt competitions and wins, like me. And again, it's a way to get more from your training. And this is important whether you're just trying to get better faster or if you're getting up there in age and you're just a little older and you have less days on the mat. You know, again, you can, if you have 2 or 3 days a week, maybe even 1 day a week, you can't just go into the gym and be like, hey, I'm here. What's up? You need to kind of have an idea as to what am I trying to get out of the session? And it helps out big time as far as getting better at jiu-jitsu. I give you the guides for free. And in return, you'll then be on my Chew Crew. You'll be a subscriber of my Chew Crew email letter that I send out, which comes out almost every day. And it goes through anything and everything that I want to share with you jiu-jitsu related. I also make offers in that email. So if you are really adverse to someone saying, hey, I've got an event coming up, I've got a book here, whatever, then don't sign up for it, right? But if again, you want something free and you want to get some cool content afterwards that I send out in my email, check it out at chewjitsu.net/join. With that said, let's get into this podcast. So this idea, the golden rule of competition, and again, I sort of prefaced the beginning of the podcast with this, that this sort of started back when I was a white belt. So when I was a young man, like many of us, I was very insecure and I would do anything to win at all costs. You know, I took so much pride in it, and you would notice it where if I won the match or the competition, I was all happy and everything was great. If I lost the match, oh man, I was depressed for hours afterwards. I was pouty, upset. Some cases, if the match was really meaningful to me, I would even cry a little bit, right? And so I would do everything I could to avoid that and everything I could to get an up on my opponent. Now, maybe that's just gamesmanship and that's just part of it, right? Possibly. But as I have gotten older, and even after this, I'll share in a second, I think it's really important that for me, the philosophy is the way you win is just as important as if you win, right? Because the win's fine, but the way that you win really matters. The way that you go about it. I mean, you know, something to think about, and this is like maybe for like the younger crew that follows us, right? You see all these young guys, oh, I'm trying to build my brand, man, and I'm trying to post up things. Well, think about how many world champions you have no idea about. Think about how many people have won big titles and everything else, and you know nothing about them. And if you go watch their matches, sometimes their matches are very unremarkable, right? There's so much to building your brand. I hate that. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting old because I'm like, everybody's trying to build a brand. I'm like, dude, you're a white belt with a stripe. Just freaking train for a little bit. But think about how many people that you know that you just don't remember. Then you go watch some of their matches and you're not impressed by them because it's unremarkable. Or sometimes you see people do dirty stuff and you go, ooh, that's how you won? Or you see some guy that rocks out a medal at an IBJJF tournament where they gave him the medal and he just steps up to the podium, didn't even have a match for it. You don't look back on that because, again, it's not just the win. It's not just if you get the medal. It's about how you did it. That's why you remember people like Marcelo Garcia, like a Andrew Tackett, or, you know, like all these different guys. You remember them not just because of if they won, but how they won, how they went about it. And that's an important part. Now, the golden rule part of it, we'll get to. So first off, let me tell you where it came from. When I was a white belt, going back to my insecure days, all that stuff, I remember I was competing at a tournament. This is 2004 January. And I remember I'm competing at this tournament and I'm in the semifinals. And I remember I'm in the semifinals and the guy sits back to do a heel hook. Now, of course, today, heel hooks are just a no-no for white belts. But back then, it wasn't always the case. A lot of times you'd go into a white belt tournament and there were no submission restrictions, slicers, heel hooks, neck crank. It was all there. The one that was really weird back in the day that used to be like the touchy one was like the can opener. That was the one that everybody would be up in arms about, which is so bizarre to me compared to heel hooks. But there were no heel hooks in the division. Now my opponent, we're rolling, and he sits back for a heel hook. And he had taken me down first off. And at this point, I'm still mainly a wrestler that does a little jiu-jitsu. So I wasn't good off my back. So I'm like, oh crap, I'm in danger. I'm on my back. He foot trips me, gets me down, and then he sits back on a heel hook. I yelled at him, no heel hooks. He goes up and puts his hands up and says, oh, I'm sorry. And I don't even skip a beat. I immediately get on top of him. And I knew I took advantage of it. And the ref didn't stop it. He let it go. And, in my head, I'm like, got you now. And then the dude, he ended up putting me in a arm triangle choke and submitted me. So I got what was coming to me. But I remember after that match, I kind of felt gross about it, because even if I had won, I had to cheat a little bit. I had to be dishonorable to do it because the guy literally said, oh, my bad, I didn't mean to. And then I'm taking advantage of the situation. It kind of made me like, kind of like felt dirty with myself a bit. So I was like a little white belt cheater. And I remember recently I was at a competition and I competed in my first match, had a pretty tough match, got off the mat, and I broke one of my rules. So I have several rules, but one of my rules for competition is as soon as the match is over, I go run away and get lost for a little bit. I'll go take a walk, go to bathroom, do whatever I got to do, because a lot of times these competitions will run you real fast. They'll just put you right back in there. I've literally, I remember there was at one IBGF tournament where they tried to do this to me, and I'm out using the bathroom because, I'm tired after the match, and they're trying to call me back. It's not even been 10 minutes yet. And so I remember they're calling me Nick Alvin back to the ring or whatever. And, people are texting me, Chewy, they're calling your name. I'm like, yeah, they're calling. They'll wait a second. They'll wait for a minute. I'm here. I'm coming back. So sort of pro tip for you guys, after your match, get away from your mat, go walk, cool down, do like a cool down, lap of walking or whatever, get your fluids back in and then come back. They'll wait for you for a minute. You may be kind of an inconvenience to them, but better to do that than them running you so fast. This is one of the things that the Jiu-Jitsu Opens, we purposely stack multiple brackets together to kind of spread it out a little bit. So I didn't do that. I broke my rule, and I'm sitting there on the side of the mat, and they call me back about 5 or 6 minutes later. It's like one match was in between my first match to my next match. Now, my next match was such that my opponent had a bye, so he's fresh as can be. And I get out there, and I'm exhausted. I remember the guy, even asked me, he said, one of the refs or said, he's like, hey man, do you want a few more minutes to rest? I'm like, it's fine. You guys are calling me out of here. I'll be all right. And I went out there, man, and I just didn't perform great. Now, this guy may have just beat me no matter what, but I definitely felt like I didn't have that energy that I needed to perform. And lesson learned. Now, coming back here to more recent times, recently at a competition, I was competing, and I competed first, and then my opponent went after me, and he had a pretty tough match with the guy. And they were calling him back to the mat about, 5 minutes later, because there was one match in between his and me and our match, right? So there's only about 5 to 6 minutes between, and they're calling him back. And I can see, he's breathing heavy, he's sweating, he's trying to recover. I come up to him and say, hey, bro, you need a minute? You want a few minutes to catch your breath? And he says, oh man, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm ready. And I can tell dude's a warrior. He's a tough dude. He's a tough black belt. He's won plenty of matches. I see it. I've done it. I was there. Right. So I went back to the table, and I know the head judge at that table. And I said, hey bro, Carlos, I was like, can you give him a little bit of time, man? He just got off the mat, bro. Can we give him a little bit of time? Can we run a match in between? Can we do anything? And, Carlos, he's like, all right, we'll get him some extra time. All right, good. So he had some extra time to get his recovery back. We had our match. I was fortunate to get the win. It is what it is. And that's that. Now, I share that with you not to be like, oh, I'm so cool and nice, whatever. But sometimes I guess I have a voice of some sort, right? So I think there's a side of me that I want to promote certain values, because if I realize this, right? It's weird to say that I do have a certain impact on some people. Like, people will literally come up to me and say, hey, this gold medal, you helped me win this because you said something that resonated with me, so forth. So, I have a voice to share, and there's a lot of negative crap out there. And I think it's worth following that golden rule. If you wouldn't want it done to you, why would you do it to someone else? Like there's a lot of times where you'll see, I've talked to some young competitors where they'll talk about sort of drawing the DQ where they'll push the foot over or whatever. And their excuse is, well, it was done to me. I saw someone else do it. So, hey, I guess it's what it doesn't make it right. It's still it's still a dishonorable thing to do. It's still something we kind of frown upon. Sure, it might be part of the rules or whatever, but it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And I guess this goes back to the sort of the principle, right? The golden rule principle. One is you should be treating people like that, again, how you want to be treated. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't get rough and tumble with them, and doesn't mean that you may not crank a submission a little longer because they're not tapping or whatever, because that's just what it is. But with certain things like that, again, I think it's important because for me, at least, if I had jumped on the opportunity to take the advantage, and don't get me wrong, there's a part of me that wants to, because I'm like, hey, let's get on the mat now because you'll be more tired. But if I had done that, I would know deep down that, my opponent was gassed out and I took advantage of it, opposed to, hey, go get rested up and let's test ourselves right here in the middle of it. Let's see who's better, versus I'm skirting the rules, gaming the system, taking advantage of a situation. Now, again, you don't have to follow that code, but I do think it's important for you to have some set of principles and some set of ideas that guide you. And again, that's for me. Like, again, I was in that same situation. I didn't like it. I didn't like being rushed to the mat after I'm still exhausted. At the time, I wear a heart rate monitor a lot of times after my matches are over to see where I'm at, to see how recovered I am. I was still in like the 110s, 120s. I wasn't even remotely back down to baseline. And so I'm still exhausted and they're bringing me back out there. I'm like, man, this is tough. And so I didn't like it done to me. I'm not going to do it to him. And I think that maybe this is the 90s kid in me who grew up with like movies like the Mighty Ducks, where, it was about, we just watched this, by the way, it's why it's coming into my mind, right? You had the Ducks and you had the Hawks, right? And, the Mighty Ducks, like the Ducks were about like doing it, having fun. And it was about like winning with a certain level of integrity, whatever. And then the Hawks were about like injure people, hurt them, no quarter, cheat the system, do anything you got to do to win. And when it's funny is because, that was the 90s, right? But when I look around at a lot of people, the way they approach competing, everybody's become the Hawks. They don't care about like anything other than, can I get on Instagram and say that I won the match or whatever, versus like, because at the end of the day, like these medals mean almost nothing. Nobody cares about them. And very few people will ever make any real money from competing itself. Some do, but it's rare. So at the end of the day, what you're left with is, well, your memories, your experiences, the things that you learn along the way. Those are the things you get to take with you. And so for me, I think that it's just something that's been sort of true to me, is how you go about it really matters. And I can tell you that anytime I go against that, like I did when I was a white belt trying to game the system, I feel absolutely disgusted by myself. And I don't like the way I feel afterwards. Even if I somehow get the win, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But even if I get the law, even if I get handed a loss, if I go out there and just do the damn thing, and I do so with the integrity of my own principles that I've set, I feel good no matter what. Sure, I'd like to get the win. I friggin' hate losing. I don't like it. It stings. I'll do everything I can to try to get the win within the realm, right, of the rules and everything else. But I want to do it on my own terms. And so just an idea to chew on, guys, and just something that I was chewing on after my competition. And one quick note, I guess the guy that I competed against, he's one of my email subscribers, or someone sent him the email and he shared it. He was like, it didn't go unnoticed, bro. I appreciate you. Whatever, it was like class act. So I thought that was cool. It's like, I wasn't trying to bring it up to him or whatever, but I just bring it up because I think it's worth talking about, because, there's so much negative crap that goes on. It's worth promoting good ideas and positive ideas and ideas of good sportsmanship and fair play. Personally, in my bearded opinion, of course.
Well, I think when you're a leader, like you said, you have a little bit of a platform, where people kind of listen to what you say, and you have some impact on people, not just directly at the gym, because we kind of follow your lead. We always talk about you leading from the front, right? If we're seen as like a dirty gym or this or that, a lot of times it's a reflection of the leadership.
Sure.
So I think when you are leading in a certain way, your students that maybe get promoted or our coaches are going to kind of follow your lead, or they're not going to get promoted. Essentially, we've
Right.
had people leave the gym because they kind of didn't quite adhere to the standards that we had. That's not a competition type scenario, but it's more like, taking care of newer grapplers that are coming in, or newer students, and not, roughing them up and things like that,
Yeah.
and roughing up other people that maybe are smaller, or whatever the reason is. That's kind of leading from the front and addressing those things. I'm curious though, Chewy, when did that transition happen for you? When did like the how I win versus just I'm gonna win no matter what? What sparked that for you? When did you notice that change?
So I'll get to that. One thing I will say is that I have had guys where I've held their belts back because of really weird messages. Um,
Weird
on
how?
Well, so weird messages, weird posts on Instagram. So I held back one guy who was very competent as far as his belt level, but the dude, he sort of took pride in being in a competition and possibly hurting people.
Okay.
And I didn't like that. I even talked to him. I said, "Bro, that's gross. Like it's a pretty shitty thing to do." It's like like we get injured sometimes, injuries happen, but don't take pride in it. Even if you, like, for instance, if I had to pop someone's arm to get a submission, I'm not going to enjoy that.
Right.
It's never been
Right.
necessary, luckily, but if it was necessary, I have no qualms about pulling an arm back further than I have to get the submission if the person doesn't want to accept they've been beaten. But I will take no pride in it. There's no fun about it. It's like, this sucks because I have empathy for the other person. Like, why? I don't want you to be hurt. So the that was a situation one time with one of our guys who was skilled, just had a really crappy mindset, and again, it's just sort of posturing and like trying to, like, I'm so cool. Look at me. I shredded that guy's shoulder. Like, that's not cool,
Mm-hmm.
bro. Um, but to your point about when, it's always so hard because I feel like sometimes, at least for me, I don't know if anybody else has had this experience. You have an idea that pops in your head, an experience whatever, and you can't quite put your finger on it. And then over time, it starts to surface more and more, and you can get a clear idea as to what's going on. I would kind of maybe think of it as, it's like you got a radio and you're trying to get in that dial, and every now and then you'll get this clear signal, and the signal's telling you something, but then it goes back to static. And over time, through different experiences, that signal becomes clearer and clearer, and you can really understand the message that you're trying to zero in on. At least that's the way that my analogy would be. And for me, when I think about this over the years, I was never necessarily a dirty person. I was always pretty by the rules, and I always had a sense of integrity and stuff. But again, there were times where at least me, I just wanted to win,
Mm-hmm.
right? But anytime I had that kind of mindset where I was so needy to win, so fragile about whether I lost or not, I just never performed to my best. And I remember it was probably towards my 20s, my maybe late 20s, where I really started to shed this desire, like this neediness for the win. And eventually it became, look, like, I'm going to win some, I'm going to lose some, but the matches that I always feel the best at, the ones that I walk off the mat, win or lose, and feel proud about, are the ones where I really went for it. I wasn't hindered by a fear of losing, and I did things with a certain sense of integrity that I'm happy that, like, you could show this to anybody, and you could be like happy that you showed them this. Like, hey, check this out. We had a good match. We went back and forth, awesome match, but damn it, we had a good match. Or sometimes it would be, I mean, a match where it wasn't much to look at. I never went for anything, and it's just, I'm so embarrassed by the whole situation. Um, or if, I've seen people, I've never done this before, but even like I've seen people where one of our students lost a tournament years ago because the person moved his foot over, got the reap, and then yelped. And then after the match was over, he got up and winked at his opponent. And you're like, dude, like, what are you going to do with that? Like, is us as martial artists, right? This is our work. Your work is your competitions. It's like, you think about a person who creates a work of art. They have years wrapped up into experience and practice and everything else, and it creates this. Maybe they create a sculpture, maybe they create a painting. That painting maybe took, X amount of hours to make it, but it was only possible because of the thousands of other hours that were done in practice and attempts and everything else. Well, when we are a martial arts, when you go out and you hit that one technique that's so clean in a competition, because in a competition match, you may only hit maybe one or three, whatever techniques really cleanly, right? Those techniques, each one of those movements you did took hours and thousands of hours to develop, to develop the sensitivity in your body and so forth. So, when you're out on the mat, the video of you moving around and doing stuff, that, my friend, that's your art. That is the manifestation of all this work you've put into it. Why would you want to cheapen it with something like that? I mean, because again, you can't show that off to anybody. You can't be proud of that. You can't say, "Hey, bro, me and this guy were in a really good leg entanglement, and I caught him in something." No, like, "Oh, me and this guy were in a leg entanglement, and I pushed his foot over." Like, what? It's terrible, right? And so for me, I guess it just happened over the years, and also too, what I noticed was when I really went for it, my jujitsu was always better off than when it wasn't. And again, if I operated with a certain sense of fair play, sportsmanship, if I did win, the win was that much better. Because, like for instance, the win that I had there with the guy, I feel better that I gave him a chance to get the rest in. So that this way he had a little bit more time to recover. So we could really see who's better. Versus me, like, oh, I took advantage of he was tired and I won. For me, I feel more pride in that. I feel more secure in that. As far as the exact time, there's not an exact date. I just know that that's first signal of like, hey, don't be a cheap ass because it actually matters. Started when I was that white belt, and I was trying to cheat the system, cheat the situation to get the win. And that signal started then, and then slowly over time, it became more and more and more clear, and the volume went up on it, and now it became kind of more of a rule or principle to follow. Again, just to operate a certain way.
I think the point that you touched on was having honor. Like there's no honor in winning like that, and literally, honestly, cheating. I wouldn't even say that is even playing by the rules. You're kind of essentially cheating, and because the referee, it's cheating because like putting somebody's foot across for the reap.
Oh, for the reap, yeah.
Yeah, that's cheating essentially, because you saw later on there was a couple instances of that, and IBJJF made like, if you do that, you get disqualified if you're the one moving the other person's foot now. But like that just tells you, like, man, the pendulum swung all the way in the other direction, right? I just think that it's just not an honorable way to win. And like you said, like, if you're like kind of winking at your coach in a very coy way, like, then you did something shady. And like you can't show that, like, you can't, because it's almost like your own litmus test. Like, how do I feel? Do I feel good about that win, or do I feel good about that loss? Versus I feel kind of like I won, but I don't really want to show this to anybody because it's a little almost like it's just not good sportsmanship. It's not good. It's almost like having a not great character, not great honor. And there's something to be said about, and most of us, I think, would say this, that we'd rather lose honorably than win in a kind of a deceitful way where we kind of bent the rules, maybe even cheated. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to see that. I wouldn't be proud of that. I wouldn't be proud of my coach or my training partners doing that. Like, I just think that's just a terrible culture because where do you stop, right? Where do you stop at doing that shit? Because it's kind of like if you think of an MMA fight and you pretend you're going to touch gloves. Instead of touching gloves, you just throw a punch,
I hate that one.
You know what I mean? Well, are you breaking the rules? No, you kind of like look at each other before you walk out, right? You're on your side of the cage and they're on theirs. You kind of nod at each other, put your hand up that you're going to touch gloves, and then you fake touch and you take them down, or you kick them, or you throw a punch. Like, I mean, that's just terrible. And there's no honor in that.
No. And I mean, this even goes to the gym, right? The mat room when you're training, right? There's a certain way to conduct yourself. And again, this goes back to a certain neediness that happens. A lot of times when you get down to it, the issue with people who will try to win at all costs, a lot of times comes from a fragility with themselves. They're so insecure that they just they want to feel good about everything. They want to like be consoled. Oh, look, you did good today. Look, you got the submission today. You're doing better. Versus, you know, again, practice doesn't count, doesn't matter. And so you'll see people who are unnecessarily aggressive or dangerous or wild or whatever because they're just trying to win versus actually improve and get skill. There's a difference, right? And so this idea of like going about it a certain way, like, hey, would you want to be treated this way? Would you want someone to do this to you in the gym? It applies there too, right? Just like nobody would want to lose a match by having their opponent do a fake reap or to, take advantage of a situation a certain way. No person would want that done to them. So why would you do it to someone else?
Yeah.
And again, it's not a good excuse that, oh, it's been done to me before. It doesn't matter, right? Like, if your kid had something happen to them, you wouldn't then tell them, hey, you know how that bully just come up randomly and punched you in the face? Just go pick some kid on the schoolyard. Just go pick the smallest kid that you think you can beat up and go punch him. You wouldn't say that to him, right? You say, hey, like, what, you didn't like it? Don't do it to someone else, and let's go train you to make sure it doesn't happen. So this way we can teach you how to some self-defense, right? And same thing in the gym, right? It's like when you're training with your partners, it's a really simple idea. Like when you get submissions, you don't crank them fast. You catch them and you apply slowly. You know, when you're in a situation, if you feel like you're doing a takedown or some throw or just whatever the position is, and you lose control to the point where you're not sure that you're going to be able to maintain control and the person could possibly be injured, you let go. You just stop. Now, if this means that you lost the position or lost the chance to take advantage of the situation, so be it, because we're taking care of our training partner. And wouldn't you want that done for you? It's a very simple thing. But again, we can get lost sometimes if we place too much value on the win or the success of the move or whatever it is versus how we went about it. You know, and again, that's important in the gym because how you go about your daily training is really important for your long-term success. For instance, if you're one of those guys who is hell-bent on winning every round and you're dangerous and reckless, good luck finding training partners after a couple months. You know, when it's time to grab a partner, unless your coach pairs you up with someone, it's going to be like cockroaches when you flip the light on. Everybody's going to scatter away from you because they can't trust you. Right. And so again, we want to be really intentional about the way that we roll and train with our partners because they got to know, hey, I'm going to take care of you just like I expect you to take care of me and vice versa. Or even here's another one, like I'm getting ready to have a coaching workshop. And one of the things we're going to talk about is making sure that people remember as a coach, when you have this new person come in, you were just like them at one point, right? Like I had a woman who just started training with us and she just had like a pretty, I mean, sounds pretty wild, like brain surgery. She had her there was a hole in her skull and her brain was basically sitting in her ear. And so they had to wild. So they patched up. And so she's still getting back up to speed, doing a lot of movements. And so, you know, she has to sit out during some of the front rolls and things like that. And if there's a lot of techniques that have a lot of spinning or quick movement, sometimes she has to sit out for a little bit. And I told her, I'm like, look, it's cool. We all come in here with something. Everybody comes into the gym with some obstacle they're dealing with. It might be you're overweight. You can't do warm-ups without wheezing. It could be you had brain surgery. It could be you're a 18-year-old young kid who's hopped up on stimulants for weight loss, who wrestled in high school and doesn't want to lose a round. That was me, by the way, right? And so whatever that is, like we're all dealing with something. And so, you know, as coaches, we're trying to help you get through that. But, you know, if you're a coach, remember that your problems may not be their problems, but nonetheless, you had your own problems when you came in, and to sort of keep that in mind. And again, treat those people like you want to be treated. It's a pretty simple idea. Treat those people like you would have wanted to be treated as a white belt who was dealing with something.
Yeah. I mean, just making like a welcoming environment. Cause like those people are potentially, you know, they could move up the ranks and be leaders of themselves, and you want to kind of guide them along. And you know, obviously don't want to lose students. I mean, of course. And like I had a conversation. My kids were doing the kids class, and there's a young kid in there. He just turned 13, and I was talking to his dad. He's getting ready to he's nervous about doing the adult class. Yeah. But he's ready. You know, like he's kind of been there. He's got some experience. I was talking to his dad because you know, I had like my belt on and stuff, getting ready to go over and train him. I was like, hey man, like we're gonna take care of him. Like the culture is of like, We're going to make sure that he's taken care of. We're going to make sure, first of all, like, I told him, like, talk to Chewy, talk to the coaches, whoever's running class, like, let him know he's nervous. Let
Yeah.
him know, like, kind of what he's feeling, because we've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been like oh shit, what do I do? Like, this looks really intimidating. It could be any situation like that. Right. So it's just like, but it was cool to have that experience with his dad. And actually, because he went out and did like the kids class, he had like another week before he turns 13. So he's like,
Yeah.
I'm still not ready. And so me and his dad talked a little bit, and he was just like, yeah, it helps. I know being a parent, even my kids doing the kids class makes me nervous sometimes. You never know what can happen.
Sure.
But just knowing that, like, there's that culture of like, we're going to take care of each other, which is important, in training, but also it's important when you're competing, right? Like, I mean, none of us go out and try to hurt our opponent. I don't. Sometimes, yes, you go after a submission. Maybe somebody doesn't want to tap and things happen, but you're not intentionally trying to hurt somebody, because you wouldn't want them intentionally to hurt you.
No.
I mean, like, most of us, I mean, me, I'm freaking 42. I'm in the masters division. I'm not out there like, it's funny when I did the ADCC in Las Vegas last year, we were the first match in the masters, and me and this guy were the first match. And the ref walks us up and he goes, guys, and he looks at both of us. I'm like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? He's like, you're in the masters division. Like, chill out. Essentially, he's like, don't try to kill each other. Like, go have fun, enjoy yourselves, be safe. And I was like, that was a cool thing, because I mean, everybody went hard, but we also tried not to kill each other, which was which is cool to have. It was a cool for him to mention. He didn't have to. I mean, I think all of us old guys were like, well, we kind of want to walk tomorrow, and we got to go to work when we get back, So like, we know what it is. It's not a life or death thing. Like, if we win, great. If we don't win, it's like, you lost in the masters division. It's not a big deal. If you win and you won the masters division, it's not a big deal. So
it's funny though, man, because I had more fun competing in the masters division, partly because, well, I guess at this point I've been competing almost longer than I was in the regular adult division. But the fun part about it is that, like, as you get older, life has a way of the perspective of life changes, and your perspective of yourself changes. And if you're doing it right, if you're doing your life right, you have a little bit of stuff that your self-confidence can be built on. For me, I think about like self-confidence is, it's like you have a chair and you're putting more legs under it, so that if one of the legs falls out, you doesn't completely buckle. When you're young, it's like you got one leg, man, and that damn thing's rickety, and just one thing pops out and you just feel like you're just a failure. You feel you're awful. That's like that's usually your teenage years, right? And then as you get older, you have things that you can stick around. You can say, man, I've got a beautiful family and wife at home, and they love me, and I feel like I'm a pretty good father. There's a little thing right here. Hey, I've built, like, for me, I built a successful business. Hey, that's something. I've helped out a lot of people succeed and get their own. I can start to stack these up, and my self-confidence can be built on multiple things. And so then when I go compete, I just, like I was telling someone, I feel like I'm on just side quests. It's all bonuses, right? None of this actually matters for the main story anymore. This is all stuff I just want to do now and have fun with. And it's allowed me to be far more open with my game and a lot more just experimental, even in competition, because I don't care. If you beat me, it happens. It's happened more times than I can count. But the reality is, the more that I do this, or the more that I play more open, the more I win, and the more impressive in the way that I win. Kind of going back to your idea with like the competition too. I've talked about this before. Competitions are controlled aggression. They're not animosity. It's aggression, not animosity, right? You're out there to aggressively use your jiu-jitsu in a controlled fashion. It's not about hatred or animosity. It's about, it's something I was talking about today, because a lot of people don't understand sometimes what we do. You talk to someone and they don't understand why you want to compete. They don't understand why you do this thing where you risk your bodily health to just go wrestle around, right? And there's an evolutionary reason as to why we do it. You think about, I was talking about a guy with this buddy Theo, and you think about, if a society was too passive and weak, it would be wiped out, because it wouldn't be able to defend itself. But if the society doesn't have some sort of ritualized way of dealing with the aggression and their fighting instincts, well, if it's too lethal, well, then everybody's going to get wiped out. So there's this balance where we're trying to not be too crazy, but not be too passive either, and find a balance for it. And you see even just in nature, watch, I mean, every friggin' animal, man. You watch them, and from a very young age is roughhousing. There's playing, there's play fighting. You can watch bears do duck unders and like fight for inside ties with their arms. I mean, it's like you're watching wrestling. You watch everything do it. And so it's this very primitive base experience. And so for us though, it's not about this hatred for someone or anger towards someone or desire to hurt. It's about the hunger for just testing yourself in challenging situations, whatever it might be. Now, some people, this manifests into competitions like we do, but for some people, it can be other things. But that's where that comes from. And I think kind of getting back to that, that's important to remember, and the sooner you can understand all of that, I think the better off your competition experiences go. I think the better your training goes. I think the better you get faster at jiu-jitsu because you're no longer tethered to, I got to win. This means so much to me. It's about, oh, this is fun. And even if this is like me, I do this this is my living. So, if for me, my wins and losses have probably more consequences attached to them than like 99% of people in jiu-jitsu, right? It actually like it affects my ability to do certain things. But even then, if you untether yourself to all that, it allows you to be so much more free and open and aggressive with your jiu-jitsu. It's a beautiful thing. Very important, a lesson that's worth remembering. And again, I think part of it does go back to that golden rule of taking care of your training partners and your opponents alike.
We were talking to Chris Wojcik on the it got me thinking about something about the posts. Like he talks about people after tournaments posting about their competition, like it could be anything, like the only one on the podium and you're like, I got gold or whatever. But on the other side of it, it's like, I didn't win today. Go back to the drawing board. Like for me, I did the last tournament in Louisville was the ADCC Open in Louisville. And I was like, I got second. I won one, I lost one. It was the old man division. I didn't really care. And I was like, man, and I posted something like, I'm thankful and grateful to be out there to be able to do this thing.
Yeah.
Like after all these years, I'm just happy I have the ability to go and compete and kind of test myself. So it's kind of your perspective changes. It's like, yeah, you want to freaking win. You want to win and you want to show your jiu-jitsu and there's goals that you may have, but like I went after it. I did a competition before where I won and I got like all decisions and I was like, felt kind of gross about it. Like,
well, you felt gross because you held back a little bit. I remember watching your matches and there were moments where you could have really went for it and you didn't go for it and you were gun shy.
Yeah. And so like for some instances in this tournament, I went for it and then there's other games oh shit, I need to work on this. I got things to work on. But like just being able to, really train kind of hard and go after and test myself and scare myself a little bit. Like as I got older, I don't want to get complacent. I mean, I'm a black belt, I'm pretty decent, but like I still want to like go and do something that really kind of tournaments still kind of scare me.
It gives you a jolt.
Gives you a jolt and it kind of, I don't know, man. There's a lot of uncertainty and there's obviously a little fear that goes into it. Because there's the fear of the unknown. Sure. You don't know your opponent. You don't know what they're going to do, but just testing yourself. And sometimes I'm like, shit, why am I doing this again? Like, why am I putting myself through this? But then like, it's good. It's good that I'm doing it. I'm going to be better for it. And it's a fun way to kind of have something to work towards and train towards. But yeah,
but after a competition, generally speaking, you feel like, there's things to work on and maybe sometimes the performance wasn't great, but at the same time, you generally have a lot of fun with it, don't you?
Yeah, fun. And like, dude, we were taking pictures afterwards and like, we got to recreate our picture of like my first tournament. Well, it wasn't my first one, but my first tournament at Derby City as a Derby City MMA student. And it was your first time coaching. And so me, you and Adam recreated the picture. That was kind of cool. It's kind of like
same building too.
Yes, you brought that to the same building. Some of us had a little more hair on our head beforehand, and it's just trickled
Some
down.
People have more in their face.
More gray, a little gray on there. But it was just super cool to still be doing this thing. And like, there's a lot of benefit to competing, but also the camaraderie of it and just doing it with your team and being able to coach. and watch guys kind of get after it and represent the gym and do it in a really fun way and like get after it. Like all our guys that competed went after it. Like it was a good like it was a good team effort. I think we got like 5th as a team as well at ACC Open. Is
We
that
would
right?
have I believe we would have gotten 4th had one of our students registered for the wrong gym. There's apparently there's
Oh, like
Kendall took 2nd. He got a 2nd place medal, and
yeah.
I think we lost on a bronze. So like one team had a 1 extra bronze medal,
Uh-huh.
and if we would have had the silver, it would have put us in 4th place as a team,
Oh,
which was
wow.
pretty good considering most of the people registered like sort of last minute.
Yeah.
And I was like, so there's some gym in somewhere called Chewalla, and so I have no idea. He put
Registers
in
Chihuahua.
Chewalla, but nonetheless, it's we had a fun time. But I think that part's important because I think a lot of people do that same thing. They let the nerves get to them, and in those moments, they like sort of start to question themselves, like, why am I even doing this? And it's important. This is why, like one of those ideas they always say, know your why.
Yeah.
Right. It's really important to know why you're doing something that's challenging, because if you don't, it's easy to get sort of sidetracked because those moments of doubt come. Even like on a just working hard, grinding, right? If you're, working your face off at a job or putting in extra hours or whatever it is that you're doing, it's good to know why you're doing it. Like on my phone, I have a little album of pictures, and the album of pictures is a sort of a visual representation of my why when it comes to why I'll coach or why I'll teach and why I get up early in the morning to do my work before the family gets up, or why I maintain a pretty hectic schedule to do the things that I want to do. It's all there, and I can just know, hey, this is why I'm doing all this stuff. So this way, sometimes that little bolt of like, I need a reminder, and so the same thing with competition. I think it's important to know why you're doing it. For me, like one of my whys is that I always enjoy the experience. I like being out there. I love the feeling afterwards of like just being, like you said, the camaraderie afterwards with the team. And I love the feeling of letting myself go in a competition and seeing what I do. Because I know this sounds strange, but I've talked about this before. But when I compete, I feel like I'm a different person. It's like when I watch myself compete, I'm like, wow, look at me go. It's as if when I step on the mat that a different entity takes over, and they look like me, they talk like me, sound like me, whatever, but they're different. And so like when I'm in the gym, I never go 100% because there's always a little bit of reserve, because I'm always, one, going 100% means I'm at risk of injury because we're going as hard as possible.
Yeah.
But two, also, is I'm also trying to take care of my training partners. And if I'm going 100% on you, that means that I'm like no longer worried about whether or not this could possibly hurt you. So
Mhm.
not the best for training for long-term purposes, right? Not for
Yep.
safety.
Yep.
And so I never go 100%, but then in the competition, I flip the switch and I go. And when I'm out there, it's always interesting to like, when I'm done, when I watch the videos, I'm like, whoa, that was cool. I really liked how I did it. Sometimes I do stuff I never do in the gym and I just improvise on the fly. And I later on have to go figure out what I did to like, oh, like what did I just do there? Like one of my back takes I've hit years ago, I remember like watching, I was like, what the hell did I just do? I don't know how I hit it. I just hit it on the fly. And
Yep.
I was doing things. And so I love that feeling of being able to like see that person, that side of me, go out and do his thing. And after I can go analyze him and see kind of what he did right, what he did wrong, and and experience that, because it's fun, because it's that. And also too, I think something that's neat is as the older we get, the more routine everything gets, the less newness we have in life, because when
Yeah.
you're young, there's so much that's new, right? There's so much that's new and stimulating and exciting. You think about how slow your life seemed when you were younger. You think about how like slow everything was because you're having to process so much. And then as you get older, time seems to just speed up, right? Now time is time. But you think about that, like, why is it speeding up? Because most of the time, if you're on a routine and you're on a schedule and you're just time just flies past because
Yeah.
you're almost on autopilot on a lot of the stuff. But think about the competition day drags. The damn day drags, man.
Yep.
It's like time slows down. You're waiting forever, and you're just like, how would I compete? But time slows down because you have this singular focus, and there's a moment of unsureness, and you're processing everything at its most intense. It's a cool experience. I like having that. I remember having that understanding of that after or for my first pro fight, because I'm sitting around before the match, I'm getting ready to walk out, and we're at a casino. There's a couple thousand people there, I guess, whatever it was. And I'm looking out, and we're in this outdoor venue, the lights, big light show and everything else. And I remember being back there and just sort of thinking about this, like how this experience that I'm going through, I don't have this on a normal day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
I'm not sitting around focused singularly on this thing. Nothing else matters. I'm wired into this thing. I enjoy that. It's a little bit intense, right? And that can be tough at first to wield that, but I have grown to enjoy it. It's a feeling of like an old friend coming back. Ah, we got the nerves coming back. Hey there, buddy. Good to see
Yeah.
you again.
Dude, you never warned me. Actually, maybe you've talked about it. How nervous I would get coaching. Like, I've coached before, but we had some specifically 6 a.m. guys that
You had your guys
competed this past
competing this
weekend.
weekend. Yeah,
And like
yeah.
we had guys that jump around and do different classes. Some they do day classes, but we had some six. I had one of my guy Steve, and you were coaching somewhere, and then somebody
Mhm.
else was and I was coaching Steve for a couple
Yeah.
of his matches. And dude, I was like, holy shit,
You're
my
amped
heart
up.
rate was going like, oh my
Yeah.
God, he killed it. He did great. He won some great matches, came back. He lost a couple tough matches, but man, he did a great job. And man, he was aggressive the whole time, went after it. And I was like, you went against younger guys, but man, I was just so nervous. I'm like, God, I hope I'm telling them the right thing to do. And just you know what to tell them, and they know what to do for the most part. But it's just like you feel in some ways responsible for. I
Mhm.
mean, like if they lose, you'll feel responsible in some ways. Like, oh, I could have told them something different, but it was
Yeah.
so nerve wracking. It was nerve wracking.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. It was a cool experience. Like I've coached before, in some capacity, but I felt like a little bit more of an influence on some of these guys because they train not just with me, they train with other coaches as well. But it was just fun to be there, and so coaching that was definitely a cool experience as well, and a skill. Just
Mhm.
knowing when to tell them, kind of how to tell them to get the most out of them,
The
to get them to do
cues
the
and stuff.
thing you
Yeah.
want them to do. That was awesome. So I remember you telling me about you coaching, really being the head coach for the first time, and how nervous you were. And I was like, huh. Yeah, I was pretty nervous. Like I wasn't
Mhm.
nervous, and once they started competing, I was like, "Oh God!" But that was a
Yeah.
cool experience. That was a very cool experience, and I really enjoyed it. It was awesome.
Yeah, when I first was coaching both in jiu-jitsu and MMA, a lot of times when it was over, I would have to go lift weights or exercise. I had to do something afterwards because I would be it's literally like getting revved up to compete, and then all of a sudden, like you don't compete and you don't get that same release. And so I remember you especially with like the MMA fights and going back to that day when we're talking about like I was coaching like you guys. I remember those first couple of years when I would coach a competition, if I was close to home, I
Yeah,
would immediately go to the gym and lift weights afterwards just to get rid of the feeling because I was
for
so
sure.
charged up with energy that I never got to offload because I never competed. And then I remember MMA fights, it'd be the same way. Like if we were doing some of the local MMA fights, I would go and after they were over, I would be in the gym at like midnight lifting just to kind of get some of the energy out. And I remember one of my buddies, Brent, I coached him for some of his Bellator fights,
Yep.
and there would be times where we would go back, he would go to sleep, and I would go down to like the hotel like fitness room and just go get a little workout and just something to kind of get rid of the gremlins, man, just the energy in me. And so now it's not so bad.
Yeah.
It's still there. I still my heart rate still gets higher, especially when they're doing stuff. Like during one of Steve's matches, talking about him, he had like a great half guard sweep, and I'm like, yeah, let's
Mhm.
go. And then he gets put, in a bad position. I'm like, no, whatever. And you're going with it, but
Yeah.
it's become a little bit more normal now. I'm
Yeah.
used to it. But those first couple times, bro, whoo, especially it can definitely get to you.
It was a great time, and it was fun watching. Like you're so happy for them, and like you feel it's so hard if they don't win, but like as long as they go out and they kind of do the thing, they were ready and they did the thing, and it was awesome. It was a great time, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's a different. It's definitely a skill, and we're doing a little coaching seminar this weekend, which is going to be fun to learn a little more and just get a little better at it because I think it's just one of those things that with time you need reps, just like anything. You got to have
Mhm.
reps, and I think it's really. Uh, I really enjoyed it. And so I'm very like, being someone that can do the thing, but then you got to teach people how to do the thing is also a skill all its own. And it's a challenge, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy learning how to teach and be a better teacher, better coach too.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of the stuff that we're doing this weekend, there's going to be the actual like nuts and bolts part of
Yeah.
teaching, and then there will also be the sort of, which I think is just as important, is the relationship personality side of it, because a lot of times as coaches, or let's say instructors rather, a lot of times instructors, if you want to be a coach, it's very much a like a relationship thing. But
Yeah.
even if
Yes.
even as an instructor, a lot of people can get really sort of blindsided by their technical stuff, right? But how often do we talk to people and like, hey, why do you train? Almost nobody says, oh man, the instruction is so amazing. Sure, that's a part of it, but a lot of times people expect it to be a certain way. It's like kind of like imagine you go to Chick-fil-A, right? People don't go, man, the chicken sandwich is so amazing. When you ask people what impresses them about Chick-fil-A, a lot of times it's their customer service and how
Yeah.
pleasant people are, right? And so a lot of times when people go into gyms, a lot of times they come in for techniques. What gets them to stick around is the relationship they have with the people, and the sort of the way that the coach or instructor helps them, and helps them be at ease, and helps them become comfortable and become part of the group. All that's really important, and stuff that a lot of times is not covered in like the technical side of things. And so we'll be covering a little bit of both of that. And hopefully it'll be useful to you guys. And plus, if nothing else, you guys will have a good breakfast that morning.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be
We'll have
fun.
good
It'll be
we'll
good.
have some breakfast
It,
and good coffee.
it's good to get all of us together. A lot of it's black belts and upper belts get us together, just hanging out, and it's a little different environment too. It's more of like a kind of laid back environment. It's not really going out there to like train super hard. It's more of just like a different type of purpose, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah,
So I think it'll be fun. It's more of like a playful kind of not sort of playful, but more of just kind of relaxed environment. Not really going out there to get after it. So
that's it. All right, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully give you an idea or two to chew on. A lot of people that are on my Chew Crew email, their email subscribers, they enjoyed that email that I sent out, and this is where this originally kind of came from, and we kind of extrapolated and added on to it. People seem to enjoy that idea. And so hopefully it maybe stuck with you, maybe something stuck with you. If you guys have any sort of comments or anything related to our podcast, you can always shoot us an email. You can also send us Instagram messages. Just look up the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, and you can find us on Instagram or social media, or the Jiu-Jitsu podcast at gmail.com if you want to send any questions, requests, or anything that you have. Big thanks to our sponsors for helping make this podcast happen. Charles Web CBD. Again, go to their website, charlesweb.com. The promo code is Chewjitsu30, and you can save 30% on their CBD oils, their balms, their functional mushroom products, and their CBN products for sleep. A lot of good stuff on their website. 30% off. I've used it. I feel comfortable sharing it with people. I encourage people to, with any supplement, try it out for yourself, see how it works. I'll be talking about my experience with a company called First Optimal in the near future. And it, I felt really bad about, doing that with them, but it's like, I've taken about like 6-7 months because I'm trying all these different supplements they've got me to
sure,
use different, and because I want to know that if I ever share anything with you guys, that it's like legit, because we have taken a long time to build everything that we build, and I don't want to sort of ruin the trust with you. And so again, I stand by the products with Charles Webb's. They're good stuff. If you want to check them out, 30% off at checkout with Chewjitsu30 at charlesweb.com. Big thanks to Epic Roll for supporting the podcast. They're one of our longtime sponsors. They make amazing jiu-jitsu gear, great quality products. They're also made by jiu-jitsu black belts who train and roll, compete, support up-and-coming competitors. They support competitions like the PGF. They're great dudes over there, and they make some great products, have great customer service. If you want to check them out, go to epicrollbjj.com. The promo code is Chewjitsu20 for 20% off the order checkout on whatever you buy. So if you find something you like, boom, snag it, throw the checkout code. And again, a lot of people have used that code that I've met over the years, and they're happy with their stuff, and great stuff if you want to check them out. Also, if you guys want to support the podcast directly, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. We just uploaded some new content. One of it is a rolling with lower belts, less experienced people video of me. It's narrated. I'm breaking down my strategy, and this is kind of as a more advanced grappler. This is how I roll with people that are less experienced than me. And it's a strategy that you can use even if you're a white belt who's just better than some of the other white belts. As soon as you're better than a couple of the people in your gym, this is the way to supercharge your improvement, to speed it up. It's a very simple thing, but like most things, it's not all that complicated. It's like we're doing takedowns right now in the gym. And when it comes to takedowns, some of the most important stuff is the basics: hand position, stance, posture. I mean, basics, basics, basics. But a lot of times people get sort of sidetracked because they want to chase all these cool moves or whatever else. But if you can get them in good position, good hand fighting, understanding core fundamentals with their posture, all this stuff, that's the big stuff. And you talk to like good wrestlers, it's like head, stance, hips, all that stuff. That stuff is what really matters. All the other stuff is sort of added on to that. Again, simple ideas, very simple. But for instance, if you're trying to stop someone from shooting on you, it's really hard to shoot if they can't get good grips, good hand positioning, if they can't get past your hands, and if you're in a good stance where you can sprawl out or defend the takedown. Simple like that. So that video will give you some really simple ideas on how to improve your jiu-jitsu. And you can get it at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, along with the other benefits that you get for becoming a member. And on top of that idea of focus, if you guys want to become a Chew Crew email subscriber and get everything from jiu-jitsu tips, diet tips, just anything I want to share, book ideas, book recommendations, things like that, you can go to my website at chewjitsu.net/join. When you join up, you become a member, you'll get my daily email that I send out. And then on top of that, you will get an ebook called Focus Jiu-Jitsu, and it comes along with a video in case you're not a reader. This will go into some of the simple strategies of how to improve your jiu-jitsu faster by adding a lot more focus to your training. This is super important if you're any stage, whatever, but I think it's really important for especially like older grapplers or people who just don't have a lot of time to train. Because if you could just have like all day, every day to train, you'll get by. But a lot of times, if you're only training 1, 2, 3 days a week, you really have to get the most from your training, and you got to be very detailed and very focused about what you're doing, what you're going into the gym. And so this will give you some ideas on how to do that. And I give you 12 different strategies on how to do that, plus some other cool resources if you want to check it out, all free, chewjitsu.net/join. Guys, appreciate you for being here on the podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed us rambling about, talking about jiu-jitsu. And if you guys have anything, let us know, contact us. But otherwise, we'll see you next week.